Straight into the surprise. So I don't know who's driving what they can see. Steven, is that you? You're on this on Zane's screen. Can you switch to that? Okay, good. So we're going to show you guys some gameplay centered around the Ice Titan. And what we wanted to start with is actually the taming battle itself. So the boss fights in Extinction are a lot different than our traditional boss fights. In Extinction, they take place in the open world, and they're kind of open for everybody on the server to hop into and participate in and or interrupt. And um, you know, as we've talked about before, there's really kind of two potential outcomes for these boss fights. One of them is killing the Titan, which is similar to our traditional boss fights. You can come in and you're trying to do damage and trying to outlast its abilities. But the other is that you can tame it. And what we'll be showing kind of during this brief demo here is a snippet of the gameplay, the taming gameplay, as well as the way that he interacts with the world. And then, the other thing, there's a number of new members of the team working on Extinction. We're all big fans of Ark. We've enjoyed the game before working on it, and now that we are working on it, we're kind of also bringing something new to the plate from our backgrounds. And so, we've got a love of lots of different boss fights from lots of different games, and so we wanted to kind of take this opportunity with Extinction to change it up a little bit and bring some new meta and mechanics to the boss fights.
I'm back.
Are they about to summon?
It should be soon.
Oh boy.
So the way that it works in Extinction, there are not separate boss arenas off of the map like traditionally for Ark. You do a cave run to summon the boss, and so Zane's tribe mates right now are actually down running the cave. And what's really cool about that is you can actually come to the arena up top and set up while the rest of your tribe mates are down, kind of running the cave and ultimately summoning the boss. And then once they complete the cave down there, they'll summon the boss in the world, and anybody in the world that's there up top, we'll see it pop in. And then the fight is on.
Fight is on.
That beautiful spawn and material.
Yeah, so we've had a lot of fun with kind of the tech art side of things on Extinction, as we always do. So this is the Ice Titan in his natural habitat. He's here in the arena. So this guy is quite a bit bigger than anything we've built before. I think shoulder-wise, it's 2 Rockwells tall, and the mechanics, we've had to kind of revisit how lots of our core systems work, like movement and attacking and IK and things like that, in order to make our gameplay work well for these big bosses. And we've been doing lots and lots of, obviously, internal playtests built around kind of fighting these guys and interacting with them on a server, both, obviously at ideal performance setups and not ideal performance setups to make sure that everybody can get the best experience possible. But what's really cool about it is you'll see that these guys are flying around with tech suits and using tech rifles. And one of the things with Extinction, like a big focus is on tech gameplay. And so we wanted to kind of bring a new coat of skin to a lot of the tools that you guys are used to already. And so this becomes a key part of kind of dealing with these Titans and fighting them. So you'll see here that Zane is focusing on a node that's on the ankle of the Titan. And that's actually the primary mechanic behind taming these guys. So essentially, corruption has overtaken these Titans, and they're kind of evolved naturally in this habitat, but then corruption has somehow come involved and started to corrupt them. And so now they are actually they're now angry and working under the control of the corruption, and they're not happy about it, and that's why they're your enemy. And so to tame them, what you do is focus on these points of corruption that are on their body and try to take them out. So as I said before, there are really 2 potential outcomes for this fight. You can attack the corrupted nodes and take them out in sequence in order to tame the Titan, or you can just do straight up damage to the Titan and kill it. And it's really kind of up to you. If you want to do it for the loot run, then you'll focus on doing damage to the Titan and take it down. If you want to have one tamed, you're going to go. Your objective will be to go for the nodes. And then obviously, since this is happening all in the open world, anybody can show up at any time and kind of mess with your plans. And that's something like I've kind of underscored a little bit, but it's been really important to us to kind of bring some of that real Ark bread and butter to these kind of orbital supply
He
drop
does
gameplay
choose
targets.
earlier,
You can.
and you're seeing it with the Titan here.
And so, yeah, this is essentially the boss fight. And so for this guy, you'll notice again another difference from some of our other boss fights. There are no minions for this fight. It's mainly him focusing damage on you. He does choose targets. You can use various tools in your toolbox in order to get him to focus on you. And then we've also kind of tested it a lot against some of the traditional ways of fighting bosses. So you can see Zane spawning a bunch of Rexes here. And one thing we wanted with these Titans was to really change it up. And those Rexes are gone now. And so, we want...
They just got demolished.
Yeah, exactly. We want to bring some fresh gameplay. So, a number of us... Yeah, that one really got demolished. So a number of us come from different from different games and different genres in our backgrounds of development. And we wanted to kind of bring something new to the boss fights rather than just Rex spam. And so even if you're here to kill it, Rexes aren't the best way to go. And so it's going to kind of change up the meta and drive people to kind of come up with new ways. But So normally, as I said, the flow here would be to go through and take all these nodes out and progress through the fight. But let's go ahead and skip ahead and just force tame it. And then we'll show off a little bit of the tamed gameplay.
What kind of difficulty was this Titan?
So the sub-Titans, of which there are 3, and this is one of them, they actually only have 1 difficulty. However, the way that we still wanted to have the kind of alpha, the gamma, beta, alpha gameplay, and the way we decided to do that was, I talked a little bit earlier about the fact that you can damage the Titan during the fight in addition to taming it. So what happens when you tame the Titan is the amount of damage that you've done to it actually translate over to how powerful the Titan is post-tame. And so, if you're a little less, there's a little less finesse in your battle against the Titan, then you're going to come out with a little less strong Titan. It's going to have lower health. Maybe it's a little less strong. And I think that will give these guys kind of a little bit of a top end and a little bit more of a challenge to getting the best one.
Very dynamic.
Yeah. Yeah, so you can see Zane, the Titans are, they're as powerful as you would expect. So these guys cut through foliage and forests and dinos like they're butter. And so when he jumps and slams, he can take out 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 10 dinos at once. It's really something that we've built it to be, to give the players that feeling of immense power when they conquer one of these Titans and tame them. And each one of them actually has a completely different skill set. And we've kind of treated them kind of like almost like classes to a sense. So like the Ice Titan, you'll see the jump that Zane can do when he jumps around. This guy's the more agile of the Titans. So he obviously he's immensely big and slow moving when he walks, but he can pounce across and kill 20 dinos at once. And his QA friends are giving him lots of things. So we wanted it to be really fun both in PvE, and we really wanted these guys to change up PvP. So when one of these guys is tamed and brought into a PvP session, it's going to change things up. That traditional strength of the camera just moved. The traditional strength of base defense and the slow moving grind of breaking into a base. We want these guys to kind of turn that on its head a little bit and give somebody a tool to kind of break through to the other side and change up the fight. That said, we've got some other stuff that we're not ready to talk about just yet, that we're kind of saving for a surprise, that is built specifically to counter the Titans.
Because you want to introduce something that's incredibly overpowered with no counterplay to it.
Exactly. Yeah, and that I think, as exciting as it is to build these Titans and work on them and play with them, I mean, to have this level of power, I honestly think their counter is as much fun, if not more fun.
Oh yeah,
So.
I would definitely agree.
Cool.
He also has the cool thing on his back.
Oh yeah. So the thing about each of these Titans is that when you tame them, we kind of went back and forth about whether to have you construct a saddle for them or how that gameplay would work. And we decided semi-early on that since it's a big investment to tame these guys, and they're not permanent tames in PvP and PvE, that we wanted to kind of give you an extra little reward for that. And so they come equipped after taming with one of these platform saddles, and it's built on its back, and each of them is in a different spot. And with kind of the different gameplay that each of the Titans is suited towards, it kind of lends itself to a different type of set of structures that you might build on its back. And the other thing that's really interesting about this for PvP is that, I said that this thing can wreck dinos and can do a bunch of damage and stuff. But if you actually hop into first person real fast, Zane, so the pilot is actually just right on the front of the Titan, right above its head in this little carriage. And the Titan, the pilot is actually very vulnerable. And so what can happen is mid-fight, if somebody's able to snipe the pilot out of the Titan, then, if they've set the Titan to passive, then of course it's dead in the water, just standing there. Or if they've set it to aggressive, who knows, like it's gonna have a mind of its own and go crazy. And so we actually have been playing with I think I would build a little bunker on the back and bring a secondary pilot so that if the primary one gets taken out, we would swap another one in.
That's a pretty good strat.
Yeah.
Have we talked at all about, is there temporary tames?
Yeah.
Do we have a time period, or is that to remain a mystery for now?
Yeah, so we've been playing with it, and we're still in the final testing and tuning phase, and it is likely to change, post-launch. I mean, we're introducing kind of these immensely powerful things, and we've tested them. We've been pulling saves from all the servers of different bases and testing what they're like in those environments. But who knows until it goes live. But I think the way we've got it set right now, I believe it's 5 days if they're on the server, and then if you upload them, they're one-time uploads. So if you upload the Titan, you can only upload it once. And then when you download it onto another server, it's immediately going to start its end of life period. And basically, it's going to last a short window. We're thinking kind of something like an hour or something like that.
Wow.
And so, it's really meant to bring, you can transfer them across to another server if you're going to go raid a base or if you want to go have fun on one of the other maps. But we did want to limit it a bit, so it has to be kind of a more strategic
They don't want you to have
gameplay.
that 5-day window
Exactly,
in which to
exactly.
attack somebody on their own server.
Yeah, and then I think it's worth noting that only one of each type of Titans is allowed on any given map at a time. And so on Extinction, what that means is Zane here has summoned and tamed the Titan. That means that in order for somebody else to summon and fight or tame the Titan, they'll have to wait for his to expire, or on PvP, go and take his out in order to do that. And it creates kind of a little, with the 3 different Titans, a little bit of rock, paper, scissors kind of gameplay.
The chat is very excited. As soon as they saw what it was, they were like, "Oh my god, what do you mean it's tameable?"
Yeah, and Zane just showed off one of our favorite things about this expansion, which is so obviously we've shown kind of the wasteland biome to an extent today. We're obviously debuting, I think, the ice biome here,
Yes,
or at
that's the
least
first
showing
time
it in
we've seen
detail.
it, yeah.
And what's cool is these are proto-arcs, is what we're calling them, and they're prototype arcs on Earth. And they have the dome shield like you would expect, but as he transitions through, we kind of have this cool dematerialization where you're now out in the world around you. And so, in terms of gameplay, and in terms just of aesthetic, we think it fits really well into the world.
It's like a big bubble.
Yeah,
You get to
exactly.
walk
It's
through.
fun. Yeah, I'm blown away with what the artist did. This is just it's insane. They talked about doing this, and I was like, how would you even do this?
Yeah.
And then one day I came in and I saw it working, and I was like, oh my god, this is the coolest thing. Yeah. Well, should we do other Q&A, or
Yeah.
where do you want to go?
I have some questions from my Twitter, and I'm also willing to open it to Twitch chat if they are going to be nice.
So, we're driving towards this donation goal, guys, and we've got a few more things that we're potentially willing to talk about today. If we hit some of the higher end goals, I'll be around here working on bugs and trying to ship Extinction so that it can come out on Tuesday. We're trying to get to the big 50K number, and we're hoping that with everybody's help, we've already kind of blown the doors off of where we thought we were going to be, and it amazes us that you guys have you guys have continued to support us, and we're very appreciative of it.
Yeah, we're up to 33,000
Wow, that's crazy.
already. Yeah.
That's so
Not
cool.
even halfway.
Yeah, so it's all, you know, like we've said a couple of times, it's all for the kids, and I mean, we do it for them, like really. I mean, I was just talking to my mom actually before I came in here, and she's a big ARK fan. She's at home, like she sent me pictures the other day of her her raft that she's got. Like she's just kind of new to ARK, so she's still playing single player on the island.
That's adorable.
But she's got her raft, and she tamed her first tech stego the other day, and she's having a good time. But you know, we had someone from Make a Wish here a few months ago, and just the fans are why we do all of this.
I think the person you had actually donated to the stream.
Oh, did he really?
Yeah, I remember saying, "Thank you for letting me come to the office" or
So
something.
that's so
Yeah.
amazing. Yeah, and for the kids, I mean, you know, I'm here doing this because as a kid I was amazed with video games. Like it was, you know, it was kind of the place where I could be myself and be the most comfortable. And you know, for me, there's this cheesy thing that I always say that like at the end of the day, my favorite game is making one. And the reason I say that is that, you know, in making a game, there's all these different challenges and hard problems to overcome that you don't know what the answer is going to be, and you don't know how you're going to get there. But the other end of that, the reward is so immense. Like the
see
you know, meeting
everything working
fans
together.
and hearing how they like the things that you're doing, and meeting kids and meeting people's lives who you've impacted. I mean, I make video games because of the great games that people made when I was a kid, and it makes me, it sends chills down my spine to think of that coming out of the stuff we're making today.
When I was at TwitchCon, I met, well, they're actually friends of mine, but they told me that they recently got engaged, and the first time they ever met was playing in our SOTF tournament.
That's so
And I'm
cool.
like, oh, that's
Yeah.
so cute.
I mean, one of the things I love about our studio is that we've really, you know, obviously there's ARK, and we've built an ecosystem around modding ARK, and we've delivered an insane number of options for running kind of custom ways to play. And then what's neat is like that ecosystem, we've actually kind of integrated on the human level. Lots of people that work here are former players.
Yep.
You're former players. You're
Yep.
a former player.
Zara's, yep.
Josh is a former player. Everybody are these players that got into the game first, and then were passionate about it, and you know, brought their own creativity to it, or their own contributions from a community level and engagement level, and then we've kind of been able to pull all that in. It's very unique for our studio to have done that.
Yeah, I don't imagine it's very common to have so many people based in the community and then have them work on the game.
No,
I think it,
yeah.
I mean, I can toot my own horn that I think it provides a unique experience when you have the experiments as a player and then work on the game that you were a player of first.
Yeah, and you know, at the end of the day, we, as a studio, we like to build things that are bigger than we you know, maybe have the manpower to go and do. But we're very passionate about doing it, and so
Exactly.
we bring people who care very much about the games that we're making, and the fans of our games, and we think that at the end of the day it's worth it, because we make something that, you know, has these crazy powerful titans that can do all this amazing stuff that, you know, I've worked at a AAA studio that would not bite off trying to accomplish this. Certainly not for an expansion, not with a team the size of ours and on the schedule that we're on. And you know, sometimes it can be a little rough around the edges, but at the end of the day, we think it's worth it in order to deliver kind of the broadest experience and the most things that we can to the fans. So,
Aw.
do we have any questions or anything?
Yes. I have. So you can decide whether or not you want to.
Oh gosh,
'Cause
Jen.
they
Jen.
Well, there was one that was from our friend at Dodo Dex, and he was curious about the craftable creatures. So we've talked a little bit about that you can get the blueprints from killing their wild counterparts.
Yeah.
And we also showed at TwitchCon that you could get some of the blueprints from the supply crates after defense. He asks, I assume the ingredients are hard to obtain. Do you craft it on a special station? Oh, Mike in the beard.
Sorry, everybody.
And can these kind of creatures be leveled? The robotic creatures. So he's just fishing for info on
Wait, can you repeat the first part of the question?
Are the crafting ingredients hard to obtain, and how do you craft it?
Yeah.
Basically?
Yeah, it's a good question. So as you said, for the Scout and the Enforcer, you get the blueprints for them primarily through killing one in the wild. And what's cool is, we've brought a few different new taming mechanics to the game. One obviously being the Titan stuff that we were just showing. Another being this construction mechanic. And the way that it works is, when you encounter a strong one in the wild, it's going to drop a blueprint that's equivalent to its strength. And then similar to items, the components required to construct that blueprint or to craft that dino or the robot will be equivalent to its strength. And so they may be common things, but there'll be quantities that make it more difficult. And the key thing there is that we view kind of the city as kind of the main starting area in the game. That's where people are going to be doing kind of their initial gameplay. And we wanted people, if they encounter a Scout early, a low level one, to be able to take that out and be able to craft it early. And the same with the Enforcer. And to that end, we're kind of changing things up a little bit with the way that we approach quote unquote tech items and technology in constructing it. And so what you'll find sprinkled throughout the city are these terminals that are left over from the Homo Deus. And you can interact with these terminals, and you can charge batteries there, but you can also you can craft lower level tech items there. And so the Scout and the Enforcer are two of those items.
Very fancy.
Yeah.
So, let's see. There's another one about, because we had talked about how, I'll do one more, because this one I think that a lot of PvE people are concerned about is, how will they know what areas are safe to build? And I think specifically that's in reference to the orbital supply drops.
Yeah. Yeah, it's a good question. So, generally what I would say is, the extinction, we wanted to make sure that we sent along and delivered on the feeling that Earth is dead or dying and needs to be resurrected and needs